Welcome to Bible Study with Fred. Let's have a Bible study on John chapter 11, verses 45 to 57, through the end of the chapter 11. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Jesus did believed on him. But some of them went their ways to the Pharisees and told them what things Jesus had done. Then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, What do we? For this man doeth many miracles. If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. And one of them, named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, Ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, than that the whole nation perish not. And this spake he not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus should die for that nation, and not for that nation only, but that also he should gather together in one the children of God that were scattered abroad. Then from that day forth they took counsel together for to put him to death. Jesus therefore walked no more openly among the Jews, but went thence unto a country near to the wilderness, into a city called Ephraim, and there continued with his disciples. And the Jews' Passover was nigh at hand, and many went out of the country up to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. Then sought they for Jesus, and spake among themselves as they stood in the temple, What think ye, that he will not come to the feast? Now both the chief priests and the Pharisees had given a commandment, that if any man knew where he were, he should show it, that they might take him. Now some of the witnesses to this miracle believed, but amazingly some rushed to tell the leadership about this dangerous threat to the status quo. The Pharisees and the council are in a quandary. What are they going to do? They acknowledge that Jesus has actually performed many miracles. Their great fear is that the disruption Jesus causes will encourage the Romans to overrule their authority. Human government's main preoccupation is with preserving its authority. A politician in a democracy has as his main impulse the drive to get reelected. Power is the end goal of power. Here we have an admission that Christ is doing many miracles, but rather than being drawn to him, their paranoia and fear of losing control over the people takes precedence. The Messiah performing miracles, supernatural acts of healing, and raising people from the dead cannot be tolerated. Eventually, Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, would understand this. Mark 15:9 and 10. But Pilate answered them, saying, Will ye that I release unto you the King of the Jews? For he knew that the chief priests had delivered him for envy. Envy is a dangerous thing. Proverbs 27:4. Wrath is cruel and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? The high priest Caiaphas, not knowing that he's working toward God's own goal of the cross and the empty tomb, states that Jesus must die for the sake of the nation. However, there is no fear of God in Caiaphas' remark, though. Later, Gamaliel, the great teacher of Paul, Acts 22:3, will say about some of the apostles' actions, Acts 5:38 and 39, And now I say unto you, refrain from these men and let them alone, for if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of God, ye cannot overthrow it, lest haply ye be found even to fight against God. Verse 51 states that this was an unintentional prophecy, that Jesus would die for the Jews, and not only those over which the Sanhedrin controlled, but also for those scattered abroad, meaning the Jews around the world. Here is the phrase used in another context for the Jews not living in Israel. James 1:1. James, a servant of God and of the Lord Jesus Christ, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. The phrase scattered abroad is first used to refer to the descendants of Japheth, Ham, and Shem from Genesis 9, who are dispersed around the world, the Tower of Babel event in Genesis 11. After that, it is predominantly used to refer to the Jews in Acts 8, 11, and in James. Notice the greeting in 1 Peter 1:1 as well. In some dispensational theories, the Bible is written predominantly to the Jews, first to the people of God under the law, and then to the Jewish followers of Christ. By this theory, the Bible is written in dispensational order, so that only the books that start with the name Paul are written directly and doctrinally to Christians. Genesis, half of human history, is before the law was presented, although God's standards were understood in many instances, as you can see by pagan kings' fear of God and Job's understanding of right and wrong. Then there is the Hebrew or Jewish people under the law through the Gospels, and then after the church age ends in a rebellious slave being sent home to his master in Philemon. After that, the letters are written to the Jewish believers scattered abroad. Matthew, Acts, and Hebrews are transitional books in this theory that show the unfolding of the gospel to the Jews, early church history, and the transition from a predominantly Gentile church to, again, a predominantly Jewish one at the end of history. Every verse in the Bible has an application to Christians, but as far as our direct marching orders are concerned, we must look to Paul's letter to the churches. Of course, This is just one theory of biblical interpretation among many. Whatever theory or interpretation you prescribe to, just be careful about instructions given to the Jews and do not confuse the Jews with the church. We can look at the Bible for what it says to the people it was originally written to and in what context, look at its application all through history to Christians, and then see how it applies directly to us individually. Notice what Christ said to the Philadelphia church, Revelation 3:9. Behold, I'll make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I'll make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. One type of replacement theology has the Christian church claiming the physical promises to ancient Israel and saying that God is done with the Jews. I have repeatedly said that I think the Bible makes it clear that God is not done with the Jews, but that's a discussion for another time. From this day forward, their purpose was to kill Jesus, and they put out word for informants to let them know where he was. The Passover was coming, and it was expected that he would show up there. After all, how could he not at this most important of times? Jesus removed himself and his disciples to the country temporarily to a town called Ephraim. All right, I'll stop there and pick it up in chapter 12 next. Please open the Bible today and let God speak to you through his words. Cross-reference the Bible, study it, and then pray to God for wisdom and understanding, and then share your interpretation with someone else. Make sure when you're studying the Bible, you're cross-referencing the verses. Now, you can purchase my comments on Amazon. You can read them on Blogger. I'll post the links below. But if you've watched this video this far, would you please click like and subscribe or follow and share the video with someone else? And also, I look forward to your comments. You may agree or disagree. You may have a different interpretation, want to add something. Just make your own comments. It's fine. I look forward to that. All right. Thank you.